Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Lena if you're new, and today we're going to be talking about nursing school, and labor and delivery. So a lot of you guys know that I'm a blogger, but some of you may not know that I'm actually a nurse, and I work in labor and delivery. I've been there for about 2 years now, and a lot of you guys have followed me ever since I was in nursing school and all the way up through like when I was doing my interviews and when I got my job. So I've always gotten so many questions of people curious about what I do and also people interested in doing nursing as well. So I'm finally doing this video. I know a lot of you guys are waiting for me to answer your questions. So today we're doing a Q&A all about nursing school, and labor and delivery, and like anything that you guys want to know about my career. So on one of my Instagram photos, I asked you guys to ask me all of your questions, and I got 280 questions. Now, I don't know if that doesn't seem like a lot to you guys, but that's a lot of questions for me, and I'm so happy that you guys like ask me questions. Thank you so much. So I'm so sorry if I don't get to your question, but I'm gonna get to like the most popular questions and the most commonly asked ones. Okay, so the first question I'm going to answer is from Miss ZXX, and she asked, why did you choose nursing? Like, what got you so interested in it? So I wanted to answer this one first just because I wanted to let you guys know why I generally was interested in nursing in the beginning. So in high school, I just realized that I love learning about the human body. I just thought it was so interesting, and I just knew that I wanted to do something in the medical field. At first, thought I was going to go down the medical school route and be a doctor, but towards my senior year of high school, I realized that I just didn't think realistically I wanted to go through that many years of school. And the main reason for me was just that I always wanted to be a mom, and I knew that realistically if I was to go to medical school, it would push back the years that I would actually be able to start having children, and I just did not want to really sacrifice that. I always wanted to start my family at a younger age, so I just decided to do nursing. And honestly, subhanallah that I made that decision, because as I went to nursing school and realized what nursing really was, it just fit my personality and the characteristics that I have so well. Okay, so I can't find the person who asked this question, but someone asked what kind of schooling goes into becoming a nurse. And so I am an RN BSN. So what that means is I'm a registered nurse with my bachelor's degree. So it's a 4-year degree, with the 2 first years being your prerequisite courses, your science classes and your history and all that kind of stuff. And then the last 2 years you apply to get into the nursing school. So the nursing program is the last 2 years of your bachelor's degree. Okay, so the next question is from Magnificent W, and she asked, how did you overcome all of the reading and exams? So this is actually a very good question, because girl, nursing school is not a joke. It is very intense, and I know it's just 2 years, but those 2 years, you don't have a life. And my best tip for studying and getting through all of that work is just to break it up and study a little bit every day. If you have 5 days to study for 5 chapters, study 1 chapter a day. Do not wait till the last 2 days or the last day before the exam and just study everything at once. You will not pass, and you will not retain any of the information, and it will just not be good. So definitely split it up little by little and study a little bit at a time. Okay, I get asked this a lot, and this question is from Safa Jaws, and she said, how did you study for NCLEX? So the NCLEX exam is our national board exam for nursing that we have to take in order to get our license. And I took a review course called the Hearst Review. I'm not sure if it's available in all states, but I will link the little link to it down below so that you guys can find it. It was a really good review. They kept it light. They kept it just to the main things that we needed to focus on, and it wasn't too difficult or overwhelming. Okay, so the next question is from Amy Amer, and she asks, what advice would you give to new grads starting a new job as a nurse? So this is actually another really good question, because my first year as a nurse was probably the hardest year of my entire life, and I'm not even joking about that. I cried so many times last year, and honestly, it's just because I was not used to dealing with horrible people and just being in like really difficult situations and just really, really high stress. My tips for you now that I went through it. So my first tip for new nurses would definitely be to carry around a little notebook. During your orientation period, you're going to be learning so many different things. You're just not going to be able to retain that much information. So what I did is I carried a little notebook, I wrote things down, that way I could go back home and kind of like review it and like go over the things I had learned that day, and then also kind of rewrite it so that I had like a little checklist of things that I needed to remember. So for example, for a delivery, there's certain things that we need to chart for a delivery in the computer. So I would have like a little delivery checklist, and I would have everything that I was supposed to do and everything that I was supposed to chart. That way, like I literally had my notebook at each delivery, and I would just go through my checklist and make sure that everything was done, and that helped me so much. I carried around that little notebook all year for my first year, and then I finally was finding like that I didn't need the notebook anymore because it was just like ingrained into like my brain and just kind of like became a habit. And it was like crazy the day that I didn't need that little notebook anymore. So my second tip for new nurses is that just know that it's going to get better. Like my first year, like I said, was the worst, but now I'm at a place where I feel comfortable going to work. I still have obviously like a lot to learn because, you know, I've only been a nurse for 2 years, but it will get better. My first year of nursing, I drove to work with like butterflies in my stomach. I was so anxious. I literally wanted to throw up before I went to work like every single day. And now, like, it's crazy. Like, I'm driving to work and I feel normal. I feel like I can do whatever they tell me I need to do. It's just like it will get better and you will get through it, and just trust me on that, okay? Okay, the next question is from Morwu. Sorry if I mispronounced that, I'm so sorry. Okay, she asked, how easy was it to get into the labor and delivery department, and was it your first choice? So yes, labor and delivery was definitely my first choice. During my clinicals in nursing school, I just remember like loving the fact that the nurses were there for the patients throughout their entire labor process, and they just were like helping them through and encouraging them, and I just loved being able to see like bringing life into the world every day. It's just like subhanAllah, like such a miracle that you get to witness every single day. So that was definitely my first choice. Okay, and the second part of your question, was it easy getting into labor and delivery? Honestly, for me, like, thank God I only applied for one job and I got that job. So it wasn't hard for me, but other hospitals, I've heard it is a lot harder for new grads to get into labor and delivery straight off the bat. Let me tell you this though, if I was to go back, I may have reconsidered going straight into labor and delivery as a new grad nurse. And that's just because labor and delivery is extremely intense. Like, I went into it thinking like, oh, we're gonna deliver babies and we're gonna get to hold babies, and I don't know what I was thinking. I literally was in shock whenever I realized all like that goes into labor and delivery. There are life and death situations. Whenever the baby's on the monitor, you have like the baby can be going along doing fine, and then all of a sudden the heart rate just literally drops and you have to run back for a stat C-section. And it's just crazy the amount of stress and just anxiety that I had about, you know, learning all of these things. If I was to go back, I may have started out on a little bit less intense floor, like a postpartum unit, which is basically the unit where they take you after labor and delivery, so that the mom and baby can kind of like rest and they're a little bit more stable at that point. If you want labor and delivery as a new grad and are being really discouraged just because you can't get that job as a new grad nurse, just take my advice and just know that it is probably a blessing for you to get some experience before you go straight into labor and delivery, because it was so difficult for me as a new grad straight into labor and delivery. Okay, so the next question is from Esma Hassan, and she asked, how did you land your L&D job as a new grad? Any tips for new grads getting positions in the specialty that they want? Love your blog. Thank you. So I answered kind of a little bit of that in the last question. So any tips for new grads getting the position that they want in the specialty that they want? So like I said, I really believe that to being an externship in that specialty will get you the job. For my hospital, the externs that they hire are their first choice for nurses that they hire once they graduate. That way you'll also be ahead of the game whenever you start your job. You would have already learned all of the basics of the job, and you can just kind of like keep perfecting your skill after you graduate. Next question is from Samurai Samira. How did you deal with coworkers having difficult personalities, especially during your times of being a new grad? So this is actually an excellent question because as a new grad, you're still learning, you're making mistakes, you are just kind of like taking in so much information, and honestly, it's a very sensitive time. And a lot of times nurses are very catty and talk about each other behind their backs like crazy. It's really a problem, and I'm sure it's like that in a lot of other professions, but in my experience, nursing is really, really bad about that. The only advice I can really think to give you is just to be prepared and know that somebody is probably going to say something bad about you behind your back or to your face, and that's just literally how this world is. It's honestly horrible, and that's one of the main things that I had such a hard time dealing with as a new nurse. But just know that you just need to stay strong and continue learning. Do not let that back you down and just weaken you, because you are stronger than that. You will get through it. Like, trust me, if I got through it, you will get through it. And just hang in there and it will get better. Okay, so the next question is from Sarangai Sabrina, and she asks, "Hi Lena, hope you're doing well. You don't have to answer all of these questions, but here are just a few that I have. How did you pray during clinicals? Did you do any externships? And any advice for last year of nursing school?" So, okay, so how did I pray during clinicals? I would literally just ask my preceptor and tell her, like, I need to pray at such and such time during the day. Is there anywhere, like a back closet, a back room, like anywhere that I can just like go and pray, whether it be during my lunch break or something? And everyone that I ever asked said yes, except one nurse who was actually a Muslim and a hijabi, which was very disappointing for me. Definitely ask, and most of the time people will tell you like a back room or somewhere that you can just pray real fast and then get back to work. Next question is from Algeriona, and she asked, "Is L&D nurse the same as a midwife in the UK? Also, what are the kinds of things you do as your job role?" So I've gotten this question a lot, and honestly, I don't know if it's the same thing in the UK. So for us, like in the US, a midwife actually delivers the baby, so I don't actually like physically catch the baby, but I do literally everything else leading up to that point. So we help the mom all throughout her labor and pushing and everything, and then we call the doctor in as soon as the baby's about to deliver, and then the doctor delivers the baby. So as a labor and delivery nurse at my hospital, we're trained to do everything from triaging the patients when they first come in, to laboring the patient while they are in labor and helping support them throughout the labor process, and then also doing C-sections and circulating the OR as a C-section nurse, and then taking care of the babies and doing baby assessments, taking care of antepartum patients. So those are patients who are pregnant but are not in labor, or they may be in preterm labor. So at my hospital, the labor and delivery and the postpartum units are separate. So I know at a lot of hospitals they're actually together, and the labor and delivery nurses do the same thing as the postpartum nurses. They just keep the patient after they deliver, and they manage their care all throughout their stay until they go home. However, for us, we bring our patients up to the postpartum unit a couple of hours after they deliver. We just make sure that they are stable and they're not bleeding too much and their pain is under control and all of that kind of stuff. And then we bring them on to the postpartum unit where they take care of them for the rest of their stay. Okay, this question is from Anuse, and she asks, "Is there ever a time when a mom is pushing, a doctor wasn't there, and you had to deliver the baby? How did you react to that, if so?" So, actually, yes, this is very common, actually. A lot of times when moms have had multiple babies, They don't have to push very much, and literally the baby just kind of like shoots out. I'm not even exaggerating with that. And actually this is hilarious because this was my first patient on my own. While I was on orientation, it was towards the end of my orientation, they said, okay, Lena, we're gonna give you this patient. It's a really easy labor patient, doesn't really have anything, extra going on. She doesn't have an epidural, and it's her 7th baby. So you'll be able to handle it, blah, blah, blah. So I took this patient and I was charting at the bedside, and she didn't speak any English. She was a Hispanic patient and she only spoke Spanish. So I asked her to, let me know if you feel pressure, and whatever kind of language I could get myself to explain to her, just let me know if you start feeling pressure so I can call the doctor. Because I think at that time she was like 6 centimeters or something like that. So I was at the bedside and I was charting, and I was just, she was just like breathing through her contractions, not really making any sounds or anything like that. She was doing amazing. So all of a sudden, while I was charting, she goes, baby's coming! And I freaked out. I was like, okay, let me put my glove on. So I was gonna put my glove on so I could check her to see if she was complete. I opened up the covers and the baby's head was literally out. I was mortified. I literally ran out of the room and called for help, and my charge nurse came into the room and helped me deliver the baby. It was a disaster. Thankfully, it wasn't dangerous or anything. This baby was perfectly healthy. Mom was perfectly healthy. Everything was fine. But I was literally scarred for life. I definitely did not learn my poker face at that time. I'm pretty sure my jaw was on the floor the entire time. Thankfully, that has never happened to me ever again. Okay, so the next question is from H. Rui, and she asks, what is a typical day like as a labor and delivery nurse? So honestly, there's no typical day. Things can go wrong really fast, things can be great and just go so smooth. It's just never the same. But for the sake of answering this question, I will kind of give you an overall idea of what can happen during a labor and delivery day and what the nurse would do. So basically, you would arrive to the unit and you would get a report on the patient that you're taking care of. Most of the time for my unit, we take one patient if they're in active labor, and then if they are kind of more in the beginning stages of their labor, we may take 2 patients or so. We get report on the patient, and then we go in and we introduce ourselves and we kind of go over the plan for the day, whether that be going through labor with an induction agent like Pitocin, or kind of if they're doing a natural labor. And then we talk about what kind of pain management they want to do for themselves, whether it be an epidural or IV pain medicine, or if they're just trying to do it natural. If they do decide on an epidural, then we call anesthesia and make sure that everything is set up in the room so that they can get their epidural. And then once that is done, continue on helping to progress their labor. Once the mom is 10 centimeters, then that is when we can start pushing. So we guide the mom and coach her through the pushing. We teach her how to push, and we stay with her the entire time that she's pushing. Once the baby is crowning, then we call the doctor, and the doctor comes into the room. We make sure everything is set up for the doctor, and we make sure everything is set up in the room for the baby. And the doctor delivers the baby, and then after delivery we manage the mom with her bleeding and make sure that that is normal, and we help her breastfeed, and we manage her pain, and we get her cleaned up, and we send her up to the postpartum unit where they will be cared for the rest of their stay. Okay. The next question it's Natalie Goff, and she asks, are you able to pray while at work? And I actually got this question a lot, and yes, I am able to pray while I'm at work. There are some days where it's just completely crazy and I do not have one moment to even step away. Or I'm in a patient's room pushing with them and they haven't delivered yet and I miss my prayer. But for the most part, I am able to step away or have someone watch my patient while I go into one of our back rooms, and I use a little baby blanket and I put it on the ground and I just pray really fast and then get back to work. If you really want to pray at work, you will find a way. My advice would be to, while you're on your interview, just mention it to your management and just let them know that that's something that you're going to need to do, and if that's okay. And most of the time they will have no problems with that, just as long as you're doing your job. It's just stepping away to go to the bathroom, you know what I mean? Everyone has to use the bathroom. So if you're able to step away to go to the bathroom for a few minutes, then you should be able to step away to pray for a few minutes as well. Next question is also from It's Natalie Goff, and she asks, do you ever come across patients who discriminate against you because of your hijab? And I've had a lot of people ask me that. A lot of people are always curious about the way that hijabis in America or in Texas in particular are treated in the workplace. And to be honest, guys, thank God, everyone has been so nice to me. Everyone has just, if anyone has any questions, it's out of curiosity. And I love being able to like explain the hijab and kind of like clear up misconceptions and just allow people to see that we're normal people and we wear it for really beautiful reasons, and we don't wear it because anyone's forcing us or anything like that. Thankfully, I haven't had anyone who like didn't want me to be their nurse or something like that, or like said anything rude to me. Thankfully, I haven't had any experiences like that. Samar Love asked, is it worth going back to school to become a nurse practitioner? And do you see yourself going back to school? Some of you may remember that I had planned to go back to nurse practitioner school. I actually wanted to go back to school like right away, but I just couldn't get into any programs without any experience. So at the beginning of this year, I got into nurse practitioner school. It was an online program called Chamberlain. And I started the program, and to be honest, I just was not at the right time in my life to go back to school. One of the main reasons for me was that I knew that I was not going to have enough time to focus on my blog, and I knew that I really wanted to grow that as a business and really just grow more on YouTube, and I knew that if I put that on hold for school, like it wasn't going to come back. So basically, I'm giving myself like just a little bit of time to see if this like gets me any further and I can really make it a career. If not, I'm definitely going back to school. I always want to, maintain my nursing just because I love it so much, but I also love blogging and doing this for you guys. It's so much fun to me, and I would just love to be able to do this and work a little bit as a nurse as well. Okay guys, I hope this video wasn't a million years long. I'm so sorry. I hope that you got a little bit of insight into what I do as a nurse, and I hope that I got your question answered. If you have any more questions, you can leave them down below and then I will try to answer them there. But thank you so much for watching, and I love you guys so much. If you're planning on going to nursing school, then I wish you the best of luck, and I hope this video was helpful to you. And if you are in nursing school, then I wish you the very best. You can get through this. I know that it feels like you're not going to make it sometimes, but you definitely will, and I wish you the best of luck in finding a job, and just know that everything is going to work out perfectly in the end. Just remember to keep your trust in God and just know that He has the best plan for you. And I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and thank you to everyone who asked me questions. I love you guys so much, and I will see you in my next one. Bye!